Can a rookie really shake Mercedes in their first Formula One test? Kimi Antonelli has just completed his debut in the Bahrain tests, and his times have surprised more than a few. But not everything is as perfect as it seems. Before I tell you the details, tell me in the comments, do you think Antonelli is ready to compete at the level of Russell and Hamilton? Here is the detailed extension of the analysis on the reliability and technical evolution of the Mercedes W16 in the Bahrain tests. Mercedes came to the preseason with a clear objective: to correct the problems that limited its performance in 2024 and to develop a car capable of competing consistently at the top of the grid. The data obtained in Bahrain reveal important improvements in terms of reliability and aerodynamic stability, although there are still areas to perfect before the start of the season. One of the highlights was the number of laps completed. With a total of 458 laps, Mercedes led in mileage, reflecting a significant advance in the durability of the W16. This high volume of testing allowed the team to gather a wealth of information on the car's behavior in different configurations and track conditions. The reliability demonstrated in testing is a positive change from previous seasons, when Mercedes faced difficulties in managing mechanical wear and aerodynamic behavior on long runs. The W16 introduces a new aerodynamic concept inspired by Red Bull and Ferrari, with a redesign of the shape of the side pods to improve airflow towards the rear of the car. This change seeks to optimize aerodynamic efficiency without compromising straight-line speed, a critical point where Mercedes had lost ground in recent years. However, early analysis indicates that the balance between downforce and drag remains a challenge, especially when compared to Red Bull's RB21, which maintains an advantage in acceleration and traction. Stability in fast corners has been significantly improved thanks to adjustments to the car's floor and wing profiles. George Russell stressed that these modifications have allowed for greater control in high-speed sections, which translates into more predictable driving and less tire degradation in these sectors. However, the team still faces difficulties in thermal management of the tires in slow corners, where excessive temperatures can compromise performance over a long run. The suspension system has also been improved, with a revised setup that seeks to maximize the car's stability under braking and acceleration. This evolution is key to avoiding the balance problems that will affect the W15, especially on circuits with elevation changes and tight corners. Despite these advances, the technical team recognizes that there is still room for improvement in the transition between different levels of aerodynamic load, something that could be decisive on urban or high-degradation circuits. The performance of the W16 in the Bahrain tests confirms that Mercedes has taken a step forward in terms of reliability and technical evolution. However, comparisons with its direct rivals show that there are still aspects to be optimized before it can consistently compete with Red Bull and Ferrari. The next phase of development will focus on refining aerodynamic details and finding the perfect balance between top speed and cornering stability, elements that will define the true potential of the car in the 2025 season. Kimi Antonelli faced his first official test with Mercedes in a highly demanding scenario, where every detail of his performance was closely analyzed. At just 18 years old, the Italian had the opportunity to demonstrate his potential at the wheel of the W16 and begin his adaptation to Formula One. His performance left positive feelings, but also exposed the areas in which he still needs to work before his official debut in Melbourne. One of the most striking aspects of his participation was his ability to quickly adapt to the pace of Formula One. In the morning session of the first day of testing, Antonelli set the third fastest time with a time of 1 minute and 30.645 seconds, a figure that did not go unnoticed in the paddock. He also included 78 laps on that day, setting a record for a rookie in variable track conditions. His endurance in long runs and the consistency of his times showed that he is perfectly prepared to face the challenge of the category, a fundamental aspect for any driver making the step up from lower categories. During race simulations, Antonelli showed solid and consistent pace, completing sequences of laps that reflected his ability to maintain control of the car under varying levels of fuel load and tire degradation. However, one of the areas that Mercedes identified as an area for improvement was his tire management in long stints. In some stints, greater than expected degradation was observed, suggesting that he still needs to refine his driving style to optimize the use of the compound in race conditions. The transition from Formula 2 to Formula 1 has been a significant challenge in terms of adapting to the braking system and the aerodynamic response of the car. Antonelli has had to adjust his braking technique to take advantage of the deceleration power of the W16, an aspect that requires absolute precision to maximize corner entry speed without compromising the stability of the car. During testing, Mercedes worked closely with him to fine-tune his style and improve his feel with the brake pedal, a process that will be key to his evolution during the season. Another area that Antonelli has had to work on is communication with the engineers. In Formula One, the ability to transmit precise information about the car's behavior is essential to make strategic adjustments in real time. In his first sessions, the Italian showed a great ability to interpret data and adapt his driving approach, but he is still in the process of developing the fluidity needed to optimize technical decisions in the race. Despite the challenges, the team was pleased with his progress and his ability to learn quickly. His ability to process data in real time and make adjustments on the fly was one of the highlights of his performance. During the night tests, which replicated qualifying and race conditions under floodlights, Antonelli demonstrated an ability to adapt that reinforces Mercedes' confidence in his talent. The balance of his first official test in Formula One is positive, but it makes it clear that he still has a way to go before he is fully ready to compete at the highest level. Its progress in the following sessions will be key to determining its evolution and readiness to face the challenge of a full season in motorsport's top category. Within the Mercedes team, expectations regarding the performance of the W16 and Kimi Antonelli in the Bahrain test have been moderate. While initial results have shown improvements in reliability and performance, engineers and managers are aware that there is still a long way to go before the car can consistently challenge Red Bull and Ferrari. George Russell, who recorded the second-best overall time with a 1 minute and 29.545 seconds during the third day of testing, has been one of the first to acknowledge that the W16 represents a step forward compared to its predecessor. In his own words, the car has improved in all key areas, from stability in fast corners to powertrain efficiency. However, he also pointed out that Mercedes still faces difficulties in specific sectors of the circuit, particularly in acceleration from low speeds, where Red Bull and Ferrari still have a significant advantage. One of the points that the team stressed most was the importance of the data collected during the night simulations. These tests, designed to replicate the real conditions of a Grand Prix weekend, allowed the performance of the W16 to be analyzed with different fuel load levels and qualifying strategies. The results showed that the car is competitive in terms of race pace, but that it still needs adjustments to the aerodynamic pressure balance to optimize its performance on long runs. Toto Wolff, team principal, has avoided falling into excessive enthusiasm and has maintained a more cautious stance regarding the test results. For him, the preseason sessions in Bahrain are just one piece in a larger puzzle, where each team seeks to hide part of its true potential while continuing with the development of its car. According to Wolff, Mercedes has taken an important first step, but definitive conclusions cannot be drawn until the first races of the championship begin. The technical team has also identified areas for further work ahead of the Australian Grand Prix. One of the priorities is to adjust rear tire wear, a problem that has manifested itself in certain long stints and could compromise race pace on circuits with high degradation. To address this situation, Mercedes has scheduled a series of aerodynamic modifications to be implemented in the first rounds of the season, with the aim of improving the stability of the car in high-load conditions. As for Kimi Antonelli, the internal team assessment has been positive, although with the certainty that he still needs time to fully adapt to the category. While his speed in short runs has been impressive, his lack of experience in tire management and communication with the engineers remains an area of development. The engineers have highlighted his ability to learn quickly and his willingness to make adjustments to his driving style, something they consider fundamental for his progression throughout the year. The overall balance of the Bahrain tests leaves Mercedes in a position of moderate optimism. The W16 has shown a solid foundation on which to build, but there are still details that need to be refined to reach the level of its main competitors. With a strategy focused on continuous evolution, the team is confident that the aerodynamic and technical improvements planned for the coming weeks will allow the car to reach its full potential in the first races of the season. Mercedes has not only used the Bahrain tests to evaluate the immediate performance of the W16, but has also focused part of its work on gathering key information for the development of the 2026 car. With the arrival of new technical regulations that will redefine Formula One, the team is already implementing strategies to get ahead of its rivals in this transition. One of the most relevant aspects of the tests has been the integration of advanced sensors in strategic areas of the car. These devices have allowed detailed data to be collected on the aerodynamic impact of changes to the bodywork, the efficiency of the airflow, and the interaction between downforce and drag. This information will be crucial when the FIA introduces the new hybrid engines and active aerodynamic systems that will come into force in 2026. The Mercedes engineering team has acknowledged that some of the solutions implemented in the W16 are not only designed to improve immediate performance, but also to explore concepts that could be used in the future. One of the areas of greatest interest is the optimization of energy consumption, a key factor in the next generation of engines, which will combine a greater reliance on electric power with the reduction of the use of fossil fuels. Andrea Stella, McLaren's technical director, has pointed out that teams such as Mercedes are adopting a strategy in which they prioritize certain aspects of development for 2026, even if this means making concessions in 2025. This approach may be risky in the short term, but if executed correctly, it could allow Mercedes to enter the new era with a competitive advantage. Another point of interest is the structure of the chassis and weight distribution. The 2026 regulations will require changes to the architecture of the cars to accommodate the new engines and active aerodynamics system. Mercedes has begun collecting data on how these modifications will affect the balance of the car, allowing it to design an optimized concept from the ground up rather than making late adjustments once the regulations are fully defined. At the Bahrain test, the team also analyzed aerodynamic drag in different downforce configurations, a key aspect in understanding how the new movable wings that the FIA will introduce in 2026 can be exploited. These devices will allow drivers to modify downforce in real time to optimize straight-line speed and cornering stability, which will completely transform driving style and race strategies. Mercedes' work in this area is a clear sign that the team is playing the long game. While some rivals are focused solely on improving the performance of their cars for 2025, Mercedes is dividing its resources to ensure that the 2026 project starts on a solid footing. This does not mean that the team will neglect its immediate performance, but it does suggest that certain strategic decisions, such as the evolution of the W16, are being made with an eye to the next technical revolution. For Kimi Antonelli, this transition represents both an opportunity and a challenge. His adaptation to Formula One in 2025 will allow him to understand the behavior of the current car, but will also be key in the collection of data and the development of the future car. His ability to interpret the behavior of the car and communicate with the engineers will be decisive in the testing phase of the first prototypes in 2026. The 2025 season will serve as a year of preparation for both Antonelli and Mercedes in the context of the new regulations. How the team balances its focus between the present and the future will be crucial to its long-term success in the new era of Formula One. Kimi Antonelli's debut at testing in Bahrain has yielded a number of conclusions that could shape his path within Formula One and the future of Mercedes in the 2025 season. His performance has shown that he has the speed and adaptability needed to compete at the highest level, but it has also made clear that there are still areas in which he needs to improve before establishing himself as a benchmark driver in the category. The Mercedes W16 has shown significant progress in terms of reliability and technical development. The number of laps completed in testing confirms that the team has achieved a more stable base than in previous seasons, which will allow them to focus on aerodynamic and strategic adjustments without worrying about serious structural problems. However, the comparison with Red Bull and Ferrari makes it clear that Mercedes still does not have a dominant car. To get back to fighting for wins on a consistent basis, the team will need to continue to evolve in areas such as tire wear management, traction efficiency, and aerodynamic balance optimization. Antonelli's performance has been one of the main unknowns resolved during these tests. His speed in short runs and his ability to adapt have been positive aspects, but the lack of experience in tire management and communication with the technical team show that he still has a learning process ahead of him. The 2025 season will be key to his development, and his performance in the first races will define the level of confidence that Mercedes can place in him as the championship progresses. Beyond what happens in 2025, Mercedes is already looking ahead with the development of the 2026 car. The data collection during these tests has been essential to anticipate the changes in the regulations and begin to design a competitive car for the new era of Formula One. This means that the team is balancing its focus between the short and long term, something that can be decisive for its performance in the coming seasons. With all this information, the big question is whether Mercedes will be able to reduce the gap with Red Bull and Ferrari throughout 2025 or if this will be a transition year before the big change in 2026. In the case of Antonelli, his evolution within the team will determine whether he is ready to become a key piece for the future of the team or if he will need more development time before taking on a leading role. Now that the tests have finished, it is up to Mercedes to demonstrate whether the improvements seen in Bahrain can translate into solid results when the season begins. The pressure is on to regain their place in the fight for the top spots, and every technical and strategic decision will be decisive on their way to the top. If you want to keep up to date with Antonelli and Mercedes' development throughout the season, don't miss the upcoming analysis and updates. Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Do you think Antonelli will be able to surprise in his first year, or will he need more time to adapt? Subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss any details of the development of the 2025 season.